The rain came down in sheets, turning the dusty streets of Redemption Creek into rivers of mud. Sarah Mitchell stood beneath the saloon's overhang, her threadbare shawl doing nothing against the cold that seeped into her bones. Her fingers trembled as she clutched the small locket, the last thing her mother had given her before the fever took her 3 months ago. Inside the saloon, men laughed and drank, their voices a cruel reminder of the world that had chewed her up and spit her out. She'd walked away from her husband's grave that morning. Not walked, run, because Jacob Mitchell hadn't died of natural causes, and the men who'd killed him over a card game debt were still in town. They'd made it clear she had 2 choices: work off his debt in ways that made her stomach turn, or disappear before sunrise. She'd chosen to run, but running required money, and money was something she didn't have. Before we continue with Sarah's journey, I'd love to ask you to take a moment to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Your support truly matters and motivates us to bring you more quality stories like this one. Thank you. The locket felt heavy in her palm as she pushed through the saloon doors. The sudden warmth hit her face, along with the smell of whiskey, tobacco, and unwashed bodies. Every head turned. A woman alone in a saloon meant only one thing in these parts, and Sarah felt their eyes crawling over her like spiders. "I need to speak to the owner," she said, her voice barely audible over the piano music. A barrel-chested man with a stained apron approached. "That'd be me. What's your business, girl?" Sarah's throat tightened. "I need money for passage on tomorrow's stage. I have this." She held up the locket, her hand shaking so badly the gold caught the lamplight in erratic flashes. "It's real gold, my mother's. Please." The saloon keeper squinted at it, then at her. His expression shifted from curiosity to something predatory. "That might get you a hot meal and a bed for the night, but not the kind of bed you're probably hoping for." Laughter erupted around them. Sarah's vision blurred with tears. This was it, the moment she'd feared since Jacob's blood had soaked into the dry earth. A moment when she'd have to choose between dignity and survival. "She's not for sale." The voice came from the back corner, deep and steady as bedrock. The laughter died. Sarah turned to see a man rising from a shadow table, his chair scraping against the wooden floor. He was tall, over 6 feet, with shoulders that filled his worn leather vest. Dark hair fell just past his collar, and even in the dim light, she could see the intensity of his blue eyes. A scar ran from his left eyebrow to his cheekbone, a white line that spoke of violence survived. He walked toward her with the easy confidence of a man who'd never had to prove himself. The crowd parted like water. "Cole Hardman," the saloon keeper said, his voice suddenly respectful. "Didn't see you there." "That's the idea, Bill." Cole stopped 3 feet from Sarah, close enough that she could smell leather and sage on him. His gaze swept over her, not with the hunger she'd seen in other men's eyes, but with something that looked almost like recognition. "Ma'am, put that locket away." Sarah's legs felt like they might give out. I can't accept charity. I have nothing to offer in return." Cole's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "You're standing upright in a storm that would have broken most people. That's more than nothing." He gestured toward a table away from the crowd. "Please, sit, eat, then we'll figure out where you're headed and how to get you there safely." Every instinct Sarah had learned in her 24 years screamed that men didn't help without expecting payment. Jacob had taught her that lesson well enough. But this man's eyes held no deception, only a weariness that mirrored her own. She sat. The meal came, beef stew with actual chunks of meat, fresh bread, and hot coffee. Sarah tried to eat slowly, but her body betrayed her, her hands moving faster as the food touched her tongue. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. Cole sat across from her, nursing a whiskey, not watching her eat, but keeping his attention on the room. She noticed how men avoided looking directly at their table, how even the rowdiest cowboys lowered their voices. "Who are you?" she asked when she'd taken the edge off her hunger. "I own the Broken Arrow Ranch, about 10 miles north of here. Cattle, horses, some sheep." He took a sip of his drink. "And you are?" "Sarah Mitchell, recently widowed. Recently, everything else." "The men your husband owed, they still in town?" Her spoon clattered against the bowl. "How did you—" "Small town. Word travels. Also, you keep looking at the door like you expect the devil himself to walk through it." His jaw tightened. "The Brennan brothers. They're the only ones mean enough to put that kind of fear in someone's eyes." Sarah's appetite vanished. "They said I had until morning." "Then you have until morning." Cole finished his whiskey and stood. "Come on." "Where?" "My ranch. You'll stay there tonight. Tomorrow we'll get you on that stage or wherever else you need to go." "I can't." "Yes. You can. And you will." His tone left no room for argument, but it wasn't harsh, just certain. "I'm not leaving you here for the Brennans to find. So you can come willingly, or I can throw you over my shoulder. Your choice, Mrs. Mitchell." Despite everything, Sarah felt the ghost of a smile. "That's not much of a choice. Never said it was." The ride to the Broken Arrow was silent, except for the rain and the steady rhythm of Cole's horse. He'd given her his coat, a heavy duster that smelled like him, and rode behind her, his arms on either side as he held the reins. Sarah tried not to think about how long it had been since she'd felt safe, or how dangerous it was to mistake temporary shelter for something permanent. The ranch appeared through the rain like something from a dream. It wasn't large, but it was solid. A 2-story house with a wraparound porch, a barn that looked recently painted, and several outbuildings. Lamplight glowed in the windows, warm and welcoming. Cole helped her down, his hands strong but gentle on her waist. "Come inside, get dry, then we'll talk." The house was surprisingly well kept for a bachelor. The furniture was simple but well made, the floors clean, the fireplace already burning low. Cole stirred the fire back to life, while Sarah stood dripping in the doorway, suddenly aware of how she must look: bedraggled, desperate, pathetic. "I don't deserve kindness," she said, the words escaping before she could stop them. Tears came with them, hot and bitter. "I don't deserve any of this. I married a fool who gambled away everything we had. I couldn't save him. I couldn't even save myself. I don't deserve—" "Then tonight you will." Cole's voice cut through her spiral. He crossed the room and stood before her, not touching, but close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. "Tonight, you'll accept kindness not because you earned it, but because you're a human being who's been through hell. Tomorrow, we'll worry about what you deserve. But tonight you'll be warm, fed, and safe. That's all." Sarah looked up at him, this stranger who'd stepped between her and darkness, without hesitation. "Why?" His expression shifted, pain flickering across his features. "Because 3 years ago, someone showed my sister kindness when she needed it most. I wasn't there to help her. But I'm here now, for you. He turned away, busying himself with practical matters. There's a spare room upstairs. First door on the right. I'll heat water for a bath. You'll find some clothes that might fit. They were Emma's, my sister's. She left them when she married and moved east. Where will you sleep? Couch is fine. Done it plenty of times. Sarah wanted to argue, but exhaustion was pulling at her like an undertow. She climbed the stairs on legs that barely held her. Found the room exactly where he'd said. It was simple. A bed with a real quilt, a wash basin, a window that looked out over rain-soaked land. She sank onto the bed and let herself cry, really cry, for the first time since Jacob had died. When Cole knocked softly an hour later, she'd composed herself. He brought a copper tub and bucket after bucket of steaming water, never looking at her directly, never making her feel like an imposition. I'll be downstairs if you need anything, he said, pulling the door closed. Sarah bathed, scrubbing away days of dust and fear. She found the clothes he'd mentioned. A simple cotton dress that was only slightly too large, undergarments that were blessedly clean. When she came downstairs, her hair still damp, she found Cole at the kitchen table cleaning a rifle. He looked up, and something in his expression made her breath catch. Not desire exactly, but appreciation. Recognition of her humanity. Better? He asked. Yes, thank you. Coffee's hot. Help yourself. They sat in comfortable silence, the rain drumming on the roof. Sarah cradled the warm mug and studied this man who turned her world sideways. Tell me about your sister, she said softly. Cole's hands stilled on the rifle. Emma, she's 2 years younger than me, smart as a whip, stubborn as a mule. She married a schoolteacher from Boston, moved east 6 months ago. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I raised her after our parents died, made a lot of mistakes, but she turned out fine despite me. She's lucky to have you. I'm the lucky one. He set the rifle aside. What about you? Where were you headed on that stage? I don't know. Anywhere. Nowhere. Just away. Cole nodded slowly. I have a proposition for you, Mrs. Mitchell. And before you get the wrong idea, it's purely practical. Sarah's defenses rose. What kind of proposition? I need help here. The ranch is doing well, but I can't manage the house, the cooking, the accounts, and the cattle, all by myself. I've been looking for someone to handle the domestic side of things. You need a place to stay and honest work. Seems like our problems might solve each other. You'd hire me? You don't know anything about me. I know you're brave enough to walk into a saloon alone and try to trade your most precious possession for survival. I know you're running from men who'd hurt you. I know you held your head high even when you were terrified. He met her eyes. That's enough. What would people say? A widow living alone with an unmarried man? People always have something to say. But my foreman Diego lives in the bunkhouse with his wife Maria. You'd have chaperones, if that matters to you. And honestly, he shrugged. Most folks around here know I keep my word and my hands to myself. Sarah's mind raced. It was too good to be true, which meant it probably was. But what choice did she have? Return to Redemption Creek and the Brennan brothers? Take that stage to nowhere with no money and no prospects? I can cook, she heard herself say. And clean. I'm good with numbers. I kept the books for Jacob's carpentry business before. She trailed off. Before he decided cards were more interesting than his wife and work? The bluntness should have stung, but instead it felt like relief. Someone finally saying the truth out loud. Yes, she whispered. Then we have an arrangement. You'll work here. I'll pay you fair wages. Same as I'd pay any housekeeper. You can save up. Figure out what you want to do next. If you decide to leave, you leave. No obligations beyond honest work for honest pay. Why are you doing this? Cole was quiet for a long moment. Because my sister almost died from a fever 2 years ago, and a widow named Mrs. Chen took her in when I was away on a cattle drive. She nursed Emma back to health, asked for nothing in return. When I tried to pay her, she said kindness doesn't have a price tag. He looked at Sarah with those impossibly blue eyes. I can't repay Mrs. Chen. She passed last winter. But I can pass it forward. Sarah felt something crack open in her chest. I'll stay, for now, but I'll earn my keep, Mr. Hartman. I won't be a charity case. Never thought you would be. He stood and extended his hand. Welcome to the Broken Arrow, Mrs. Mitchell. She shook his hand, feeling the calluses, the strength, the steadiness. For the first time in months, she felt something other than fear. Hope was terrifying. The first week was an exercise in adjustment. Sarah woke before dawn, as she'd always done. But now she woke to the smell of sage and pine, instead of the stench of Redemption Creek's alleys. She cooked breakfast for Cole and the ranch hands. Diego, his wife Maria, who helped with the washing, and 2 cowboys named Jesse and Tom, who treated her with respectful distance. Cole was a man of few words, but his actions spoke volumes. He never entered a room without announcing himself, never stood too close, never made her feel like anything other than an employee who happened to be helping him run his home. But she noticed things. The way he always served himself last at meals, how he checked the locks every night, the rifle he kept by the door, always loaded, always ready. He was protecting her, she realized. Not just from the Brennan brothers, but from everyone and everything. You don't have to do that, she said one evening as she watched him check the windows for the 3rd time. Do what? Stand guard. I'm not worth all this trouble. Cole turned, his expression hardening. Stop that. Stop what? Talking about yourself like you're a burden. You're not. You're a person who deserves safety and respect. He softened slightly. Besides, checking locks is just good ranch management. Has nothing to do with you. But they both knew he was lying. The second week, Diego's wife Maria pulled Sarah aside while they were hanging laundry. He's different with you here, Maria said in her lilting accent. She was a small woman with warm brown eyes and hands that never stopped moving. Cole, I mean. Lighter somehow. I don't know what you mean. He smiles more. Before, he was like a ghost, going through motions, working himself into an early grave. Maria pinned a sheet to the line. You're good for him, even if neither of you sees it yet. I'm just his housekeeper. Mija, I've been Cole's housekeeper's friend for 3 years. He never looked at me the way he looks at you. Sarah's hands stilled. How does he look at me? Maria smiled, like he's remembering how to hope. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She went downstairs for water and found Cole on the porch, staring at the star-filled sky. The moon was nearly full, painting everything silver. Can't sleep either? He asked without turning. Too quiet. I'm not used to quiet. Funny, I can't sleep when it's too loud anymore. Cities feel like they're screaming. Sarah joined him at the railing, maintaining a careful distance. Were you in the war? Yeah. Colorado Cavalry. Saw more than I wanted to see. Did things I wish I could forget. He glanced at her. That scar you keep not asking about? Confederate saber at Glorieta Pass. Was lucky. The man next to me wasn't. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was a long time ago. Different life. He was quiet for a moment. Your husband. Did he treat you well? Before the gambling, I mean. The question should have felt intrusive, but from Cole it felt like genuine curiosity. Like he actually cared about the answer. No, Sarah admitted. Jacob he wasn't cruel exactly. Just absent. Even when he was there, he wasn't really there. I was more like furniture to him. Something useful, but not really seen. That's cruel in its own way. Maybe. I don't know anymore. I don't know what I deserve or don't deserve. I just know I'm tired of feeling invisible. Cole turned to face her fully. In the moonlight, his features were sharp, beautiful in a harsh way. Sarah Mitchell, you are the least invisible person I've ever met. You walk into a room and the air changes. You speak and people listen. You move and the whole world shifts a little on its axis. He paused. At least, that's what it feels like to me. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Cole, I'm not asking for anything, he said quickly. I just want you to know that you're seen. Truly seen. Maybe for the first time. Before she could respond, a sound shattered the night. Hoofbeats. Multiple riders coming fast. Cole's hand went to his hip, but his gun belt was inside. He swore under his breath. Get inside. Now. Lock the door. Don't open it unless you hear my voice. What's happening? I don't know, but I'm not taking chances. He practically pushed her toward the door. Go! Sarah stumbled inside as Cole ran for the barn where Diego and the others slept. Through the window, she watched 5 riders emerge from the darkness. Even from a distance, she recognized them. The Brennan brothers. And they'd brought friends. Terror froze her for a moment. Then training took over. The training of a woman who'd learned to survive. She grabbed Cole's rifle from beside the door, checked that it was loaded, and positioned herself by the window. The lead rider, Buck Brennan, the eldest, dismounted. He was a big man, running to fat, with a face that had been beaten ugly by too many bar fights. Hartman, he bellowed. We know she's here. Send out Jacob Mitchell's widow, and there won't be trouble. Cole emerged from the barn, Diego and the other hands behind him, all armed, all ready. You're on my land, Buck, Cole said, his voice carrying across the yard. That makes you trespassers. I suggest you turn around before this gets ugly. The woman owes us. Her husband's debt? Her husband is dead. His debts died with him. That ain't how we see it. Buck spat tobacco juice. She's got to work it off one way or another. Hand her over. Not happening. Then we'll take her. 5 of us, 4 of you. Math ain't hard, Hartman. Sarah's hands shook on the rifle. She couldn't let Cole die for her. She couldn't let any of them die for her. Before she could think it through, she threw open the door. I'm here, she called out, stepping onto the porch. You want me? Come and get me. But you'll have to go through Cole Hartman first. And somehow, I don't think you're quite that brave, Buck Brennan. The yard went silent. Cole turned, his face a mask of fury and fear. Sarah, get inside. No. She raised the rifle, surprised by how steady her hands suddenly were. I'm done running. I'm done being hunted. You want me, Buck? Then let's settle this like civilized people. How much did Jacob owe you? $300. Liar, Cole snarled. Jacob's debt was $75. I checked with the sheriff. Buck's face reddened. Interest? There's no interest on a dead man's gambling debt. You're just greedy and mean. Cole moved toward the porch, putting himself between Sarah and the riders. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave. Now. And if I ever see you on my land again, or if I hear you've been bothering Mrs. Mitchell, I'll make sure the sheriff knows about that claim you jumped last month. The one that belongs to the Ute tribe." Buck's hand moved toward his gun. Everything happened at once. Sarah fired. Not at Buck, but at the ground in front of his horse. The animal reared, throwing him. Cole and his men drew their weapons. The other riders' horses spooked, creating chaos. "Next shot won't miss," Sarah shouted, pumping another round into the chamber. Buck scrambled to his feet, his face purple with rage. But he was also smart enough to know when he was beaten. "This ain't over, Hartman." "Yes, it is." Cole's voice was ice. "Sarah Mitchell is under my protection. That means she's under the protection of the Cattlemen's Association, the sheriff, and every rancher within 50 miles who respects honest dealings. Touch her, threaten her, even look at her wrong, and you'll answer to all of us. Now get off my land." The Brennan brothers and their friends retreated, though Buck shot venomous looks over his shoulder. When they were gone, Cole turned to Sarah. She expected anger. Instead, his face showed something like awe. "That," he said slowly, "was either the bravest or the most foolish thing I've ever seen. I wasn't going to let them hurt you. Sarah, I've been in gunfights. I can handle the Brennans." "So can I, apparently." Her hands started shaking now that the danger had passed. The rifle suddenly felt impossibly heavy. Cole climbed the porch steps and gently took the rifle from her. Then, surprising them both, he pulled her into his arms. "Don't ever do that again," he murmured into her hair. "My heart can't take it." Sarah melted into him, her face pressed against his chest. She could hear his heart hammering, feel the tension in his muscles. This wasn't the embrace of an employer and employee. This was something else entirely. "I thought I'd lost you," he said. "For one moment, I thought Buck would draw and you'd be gone and I'd never get to tell you." He stopped himself. Sarah pulled back, just enough to look up at him. "Tell me what?" Cole's jaw worked. "That somewhere between pulling you out of that saloon and watching you face down 5 armed men without flinching, I fell in love with you." The world tilted. "Cole, you can't—" "I know. I know it's too soon. I know you just lost your husband. I know I'm supposed to be your employer and nothing more. I know all the reasons this is wrong." His hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing her cheekbone. "But I also know that life is short and uncertain, and I've wasted too much of it already. So I'm telling you the truth. I love you, Sarah Mitchell, and if you need time, I'll give you time. If you need space, I'll give you space. If you need me to never mention this again, I won't. But I won't lie to you. Not about this." Tears streamed down Sarah's face. "I don't know what I feel. I don't know if I can trust my own heart. Jacob broke something in me, and the Brennans nearly broke what was left. I don't know if I'm capable of loving anyone right now." "Then don't," Cole said simply. "Don't love me. Just stay. Let me love you enough for both of us until you figure out what you want. No pressure, no expectations. Just stay. What if I can never love you back? Then you'll have given me the gift of caring for someone worth caring about. That's enough." Sarah studied his face, the scar, the blue eyes, the quiet strength that had saved her life in more ways than one. "You're either the best man I've ever met or completely insane. Can it be both?" Despite everything, she laughed. It was a small sound, rusty from disuse, but it was real. "I'll stay," she whispered. "Not because I love you. Not yet. But because I want to find out if I can. Is that fair?" More than fair. Cole stepped back, giving her space, though his eyes held promises that made her breath catch. Now let's get inside before Diego tells everyone what a fool I made of myself. Too late, Diego called from the yard. We heard everything, Jefe. Very romantic. Maria swatted her husband's arm, but she was smiling. The weeks that followed took on a different texture. Cole didn't push, didn't press his advantage. If anything, he became more careful around her, more respectful of boundaries. But Sarah found herself drawn to him anyway. She watched him work with the horses, his hands gentle but firm. Watched him settle disputes between ranch hands with fairness and wisdom. Watched him read by the fire at night, his face softening when he thought no one was looking. And slowly, terrifyingly, she felt the ice around her heart begin to crack. It started with small things, the way he brought her wildflowers from the meadow, not as a romantic gesture, but because he'd noticed she'd admired them. The way he taught her to ride properly, his patience endless when she fell or got frustrated. The way he never once made her feel less than his equal. "You're a natural," he said one afternoon as she cantered around the paddock. "Another week, and you'll be ready for the open range." "I'm terrified of the open range." "Then I'll be right beside you, always." It was the always that got her, not because it was a demand, but because it was a promise. One evening, a month after the confrontation with the Brennans, Sarah found Cole in the barn, tending to a mare that was about to foal. The animal was clearly in distress, her sides heaving. "What's wrong?" Sarah asked. "Breech birth. Foal's turned wrong." Cole's face was grim. "I've got to turn it manually. It's going to be ugly." "What can I do?" "Hold her head. Keep her calm. This is going to hurt her, and she might panic." For the next hour, they worked together. Sarah murmured soothing words to the mare, while Cole did the brutal, necessary work of saving both animals. When the foal finally slipped free, alive, perfect, they were both covered in blood and exhausted. "You did it," Sarah breathed. "We did it." Cole leaned against the stall, his face drawn. "Thank you. I couldn't have managed alone." "Together," Sarah said, the word feeling significant. "We're better together." Cole looked at her, and something shifted in the air between them. "Sarah, I know what I want to say." She moved closer, her heart pounding. "I know what I need to tell you." "You don't have to say anything." "Yes, I do." She took his hand, not caring about the blood, the mess, the impropriety. "I've been so afraid. Afraid that feeling anything would break me. Afraid that trusting someone would destroy me. But Cole, you've shown me that strength isn't about walls. It's about having the courage to be vulnerable with the right person." "Sarah," she said, the words tumbling out. "I don't know when it happened. Maybe when you first stood up for me in that saloon. Maybe when you offered me dignity instead of pity. Maybe every single day since. But I love you, Cole Hartman, and it terrifies me. But it also feels like the truest thing I've ever known." For a moment, Cole just stared at her. Then he pulled her close, not caring about the mess they were both in, and kissed her. It was nothing like the kisses Jacob had given her, perfunctory, obligatory. This was desperate and tender, passionate and careful, a collision of two people who'd been broken and were learning to heal together. When they broke apart, both breathless, Cole rested his forehead against hers. "Marry me," he said. "What?" "I know it's fast. I know people will talk. I don't care. Marry me. Not because you have to, not because you're obligated. but because we're better together. Because I want to wake up every day for the rest of my life and see your face. Because you make me believe in things I thought I'd lost. Cole, I'm still legally... Widow's waiting period ends next week. I checked. And before you ask, yes, I've been planning this. Not the proposal exactly, but the possibility of it. He cupped her face. Say yes, or say you need more time. Either way, I'm not going anywhere. Sarah laughed through tears. You're impossible. That's not a no. It's not a yes either. It's a, give me until tomorrow. Let me think about this when I'm not covered in afterbirth and completely overwhelmed. Fair enough. He kissed her forehead. But Sarah, however you answer, I'm still going to love you. Nothing changes that. That night, Sarah barely slept. She paced her room, weighing everything. Jacob had taught her that marriage was a trap, but Cole was teaching her something different. That partnership was possible. That love didn't have to hurt. That she could be strong and vulnerable at the same time. At dawn, she found him on the porch again. Same spot where he'd first told her he loved her. Yes, she said simply. Cole turned, hope and disbelief warring on his face. Yes? Yes, I'll marry you. Yes to all of it. Yes to building a life together. Yes to taking a chance on love, even though it's terrifying. Yes to everything. He crossed the distance between them in 3 strides and lifted her off her feet, spinning her around. You mean it? I mean it. But Cole, I need you to know, I'm still healing. I'm still figuring out who I am outside of fear and survival. I might have bad days. I might need space sometimes. You might be human. I know. I'm okay with that. He set her down gently. I'm not asking for perfection, Sarah. I'm just asking for honesty, for partnership, for us to figure this out together. Together, she agreed. I like the sound of that. They were married a week later in the small church in Redemption Creek. Diego and Maria stood up for them. Half the town came, along with most of the ranchers from the Cattlemen's Association. Even the sheriff attended, making a point to mention that the Brennan brothers had left the territory permanently after some legal complications arose. Sarah wore Emma's wedding dress, altered to fit. Cole wore his best suit, though he looked vaguely uncomfortable in it. When the preacher asked if he took Sarah to be his wife, his "I do" rang clear and certain. And when he kissed her, the whole church erupted in applause. The reception was held at the ranch. Someone produced a fiddle, someone else a guitar. There was dancing and drinking and more food than Sarah had ever seen. As the sun set and lanterns were lit, Cole pulled her aside. Happy? He asked. Terrified and happy. Is that normal? Given what we've both been through? Probably. He took her hand. Come on, I want to show you something. He led her to the top of the hill behind the house. From there, they could see the entire ranch spread out below. The house, the barn, the pastures where cattle grazed in the fading light. This is ours now, Cole said. Not mine, ours. Every decision, every plan, every dream, we build it together. Equal partners. That's what I want. That's what I'm promising you. Sarah leaned into him, feeling the solid warmth of him, the steadiness. I never thought I could have this. A home, safety, love. You deserve all of it, and more. So do you. They stood there as stars emerged, 2 broken people who'd found healing in each other. 2 survivors who'd learned that the bravest thing you could do was let someone see your scars and love you anyway. Thank you, Sarah whispered. For what? For seeing me, for saving me, for teaching me that I was worth saving. Cole turned her to face him. his hands on her shoulders. Sarah Hartman, you saved yourself. You walked into that saloon with nothing but courage and a mother's locket. You faced down the Brennan brothers. You rebuilt yourself from ashes. All I did was give you a safe place to do it. You gave me more than that. You gave me hope. Then we're even, because you gave me a reason to live again, instead of just existing. They kissed as the first stars appeared, and somewhere below, someone started playing a slow waltz on the fiddle. The music drifted up the hill, soft and sweet, a promise of all the dances they'd share, all the sunsets they'd watch, all the days they'd face together. Sarah had walked into Redemption Creek, expecting to sell her soul for survival. Instead, she'd found a man who taught her that souls weren't for selling, that kindness existed, that love, real love, was possible even after everything. And Cole, who'd been sleepwalking through life since the war, had found a woman who'd reminded him what it meant to truly live. Together they were more than the sum of their scars. Together they were whole. 5 years later, Sarah stood in that same spot on the hill, watching her husband teach their daughter to ride. Emma Rose Hartman was 4 years old, fearless and laughing, her dark curls bouncing as the pony trotted in circles. A second child, a son they'd named Jacob, after Sarah's father, not her late husband, slept in her arms, his tiny fist curled against her chest. Diego and Maria's children played in the yard. The ranch had grown, prospered. They'd added rooms to the house, expanded the herd, even built a small school where Sarah taught the ranch children their letters. It hadn't been perfect. There had been hard winters and cattle diseases and nights when Sarah woke up screaming from nightmares of the Brennan brothers. There had been arguments and misunderstandings and times when the old fears crept back in. But through it all, Cole had kept his promise. He'd loved her enough for both of them until she'd learned to love herself. He'd given her space when she needed it and held her close when she didn't. He'd been patient and passionate, strong and gentle, her partner in every sense of the word. And she'd done the same for him, learning to see past his walls to the wounded man inside, helping him heal from his own ghosts. "Mama! Mama, look! I'm galloping!" Emma shouted, though the pony was clearly still trotting. "I see you, sweetheart. You're doing wonderful." Cole caught her eye across the distance and grinned, that rare, beautiful smile that still made her heart skip. He mouthed the words, "I love you." She mouthed them back. That night, after the children were asleep, they sat on the porch together, their spot, their ritual. Sarah leaned against Cole's shoulder, his arm around her waist. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Taking a chance on a desperate widow who pointed a gun at you?" "I never pointed a gun at you." "Fine. Who accepted your charity and then fell in love with you?" "Not even for a second." He kissed the top of her head. "You're the best thing that ever happened to me, Sarah Hartman. You and our babies and this life we've built. I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. Even the Brennan brothers? Especially the Brennan brothers. They gave me an excuse to be your hero. You know I saved myself, right? Oh, I know. But let me pretend once in a while. It's good for my ego." Sarah laughed and tilted her face up for a kiss. It was sweet and familiar, comfortable and exciting, all at once. The kiss of two people who knew each other completely and loved each other anyway. "Together?" she whispered against his lips. "Always," he promised. "Forever and always, together." And in the high country of Colorado Territory, under a sky full of stars, A widow who'd almost given up, and a cowboy who'd forgotten how to dream, held each other close and marveled at the grace of second chances. Because sometimes, when you're at your lowest point, kindness appears. And sometimes, that kindness changes everything. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're enjoying this tale from. Are you listening at home, during your commute, or perhaps while working? Please subscribe to the From Wild West channel and share your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of Sarah and Cole's journey? Your feedback means the world to us.